it's yeah, when you think of California, everybody moving out, they're like, okay, it's so expensive. What do we do? Like, we got to move out. Everybody's moving to Vegas or Arizona. Idaho is like huge for people right now. And what's really like just crazy about the whole thing is that Johnny and I have thought about moving to Nevada. But then I just keep getting pulled, being like, no, something big is happening here. So don't leave. Yeah. But
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's expensive, putting air quotes, like, sure, like things cost money, but God will provide. And I've definitely seen that in my life, but it's one of those where people look at California, they're like, ooh, like, we're definitely a poster child of a lot of things what not to do. I mean, that's key. But I mean, God's doing big things. I mean, if you think about the Republican governor who's running against Newsom right now, like I'm just praying hard that that happens because there needs to be a big shift. And we talked about it before. It's like if California turned red, that would be insane. But God's done crazier things. I think like, hey, you've parted the Red Sea, you've done crazier things. Like California is, it's a black hole right now. It just keeps getting worse and keep going down the hole. But there are people here that are staying here and sticking their ground because, we're called to. And I feel like I'm one of those. And so I don't know what that looks like, but it's cool that you're coming back with your project, meeting Jesus in LA and other things like that. It's for those big areas that it seems like all is lost. It's really not. It's just that's where some of the biggest revival can happen.
It is where it's going to happen. And I'm telling you, Johnny, and you guys being a part of this film, when we're touring all over the world with this, showing this film and talking about it, I mean, like, this gets to be part of LA's resurrection. I'm telling you, God is going to do something special with it. When you see the stories in this film, like my LA stories in it, but I mean, the other stories in it are so powerful. This gets to have an impact, like a ripple effect of positive change and hope. And it LA needs its warriors, and those warriors are slowly rising up. I mean, you can see it, and it's unavoidable. There's good things going to happen in LA because regardless of what happens, as LA goes, the world goes, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So these types of films and some of the new studios that are coming up that are backed by Christians, they're going to be forcing the change because media controls the narrative. And like with our media company and what we feel called to do, and especially as we get more resources, we get to be part of that change. And I know in my heart and my spirit that LA and Southern California is going to be a big part of changing the world and helping people understand the love and the nature of Jesus.
I love that. I love that. And the reason why I started the recording right now, you guys, is because it's just such a real topic. I mean, when you look at everything that's going on in the world, I mean, it's just California is wild. And like I'm right in the heart of it. I mean, we got everything from the pandemic to just crazy government to Hollywood and their disgustingness to now the quarter of the state I feel like is on fire. It's like there's always something really big happening here. But I know Josh is coming back. I know Michelle lives out in Temecula. Hoa, you live out in Utah, but there's other people that might be watching this that might be like, ugh, California. I've moved around a lot. Me personally, I've moved around a lot where I was born in California, grew up in Oregon, went to Montana for a year for school, lived in Eastern Washington, just kept over here on the west side of the country. But God's really shown a lot in all those different places. And you never know until you get outside your comfort zone, which kind of like leads me into this point of where I want to talk to you today. And it's what's funny is that again, I'm not a preacher, I'm not a pastor, I'm not anything. I'm just a person who just felt a calling where God's like, hey, I want you to speak. I want you to use the people that are, whoever wants to come from your platform to come here and just share my word. And so when I get up or when I get a word, I'm like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to speak about? And, I don't have any like order. I don't have any series right now. It's just what truly comes to the heart and having a collaborative conversation. Because whether you guys are going to church or not, if you're listening online or not, depending on what your situation is, there's always ways that you can pour in and improve because we're all getting called in so many different directions. And it's really easy to get distracted, very easy to get distracted. So I really want to dive into Matthew chapter 5 today. And I know last week we were in Matthew as well. It's just, what's really funny is that I'm like, sometimes I'll look at my Bible. I'm like, all right, Lord, where do you want me to study now? And over the last like month or two, he's had me just in Matthew, like ingrained in Matthew, and really just pulling it and like shredding it. You can think of a crock pot, you put chicken in it. Once it's all done, you're shredding it, right? I'm in there like, what do you want me to get out of this? And then how can I give that to others? Because I'm a firm believer that our story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. So how I'm reading the word, how I'm interpreting it, that could be a blessing to somebody else. And it may not be to other people. I mean, you never know, but it's the, I felt called to come on here and do this. And so I just really want to encourage any of you on this call or even watching, like he's going to speak to you in certain ways, speak to your gifts as how you want to put yourself out there. So I can actually speak to all these people on the call, like Michelle, putting Girl Power Alliance together, such an amazing women's movement to empower them in faith and business. And she's making some really amazing things happen. You got Hoa, who's just a phenomenal designer in the digital marketing space, such a great heart, and somebody who's made a lot of impact on just being himself. I know I can get that in my life from you, Hoa. And then Josh, with your network and your persistency and just how you just put yourself out there, your film that's going to be, you guys are going to start working on Meeting Jesus in LA. I mean, so many amazing things for people who are already on here and likely for people who are just watching this. And if you don't feel called to something yet, there is something out there. You just got to be still enough to listen. And we talked about that last week, is just being still in the moment so you can listen, God talk to you and tell you things, because he's not going to be loud like a Bose speaker. He's not going to be loud like the media. He's going to be soft and still, and you have to take that time with him. But with that, diving into Matthew chapter 5, I really want to talk about, a couple of things. Standing firm in who you are. You are blessed. So that ties into the Beatitudes, if you guys are familiar with chapter 5. And then, just being a light where you are. And I have a really great devotion that I stumbled upon inside of my YouVersion Bible app. So I'll wake up in the mornings, and right when I wake up, instead of scrolling on social media, I'll get on my Bible app, because I always reach for this no matter what. So I'm like, what app can I reach for that's actually going to pour into me, not detract, right? So I want to dive into Matthew chapter 5. And I did this last time and I thought it was helpful, where I actually like to read from the Message version, but then I also have an NIV version right next to me. So now like I compare the two. And I'll say this again, like I did last week. The reason why I do that is if you're a little bit newer, or if like the language in the Bible is a little bit too hard for you to understand and absorb, that's what it was for me. And so I just didn't read it. Honestly, I'm just like, I just don't really get it. It's not speaking my language. I'm not connecting with it until somebody said, hey, check out the Message version. So the Message version is one that I really love to read, because it just has a little bit more of today language. Sure, people say things may get lost in translation. So then I go compare it back to the NIV version and see where there's those similarities and what God's really trying to say. Because at the end of the day, you're opening up his word and he's going to speak to you through it, no matter what version that you're in. At least that's what I believe. So I want to dive in. I'll dive into the NIV version because most of us are familiar with it. But then I want to dissect together. And if there's something that stands out to you guys, I'll mute your mic, have this be a collaborative conversation, because I want us to all learn together. Because I know last week it was really great from all of us sharing and learning together, if you guys are open to that. But in Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12 is what we're going to be focusing on here in the NIV version. It's talking about that now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. And these are the Beatitudes. He said, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So most of us, if we've grown up in church, we've heard that. And obviously that's really powerful. But this is where some of this language in the Message version really hits home for me. And then I want to dive into a couple of these scriptures that are really relevant for now, what everybody's doing on this call, even other people that are out in your life, just really being able to be that light, standing out. Because obviously we go on social media, depending on who we follow, A lot of darkness, a lot of opinions, a lot of anger, hurt, fear. Any of us turn on the news still? I don't, but if you do, obviously you know what you're in for when you turn it on. I just get my bites off Twitter to get what I need to know and get off and just get little pieces there. But there's so much darkness around us. I remember before I jump into the message version on chapter 5 of Matthew, I saw something on Instagram this morning of a friend, David Norrie. Some of us know the Norries. He posted a sign that I think he saw out in Tennessee, in Nashville, where he lives. And it was a sign of, like, you know, wear your mask, be safe, all of that, you know, 6 feet apart. If you feel sick, stay home. But then it also said, don't look at each other in the eye and just keep walking. If you pass by somebody, look down and keep going is essentially what it said. I don't remember the exact verbiage. And I'm like, these are the lies that the enemy's telling us, and now they're in plain sight. Like, there's literally signs that are being posted, like, don't make eye contact with people, just keep moving, like, do your own thing. And how horrible is that? We were already disconnected as a society in so many different ways before this pandemic hit, because we were just stuck in our own, we're going to do our own thing, keep our head down. And to some degree, that's good. But in retrospect, I want to be able to smile and, you know, give somebody a compliment at Target. I want to be able to smile and pour into other people, like, hey, I really love your dress. Where did you get that? And some people are open to that. But now the government is literally starting to post signs of, like, just zero interaction at all. Be safe. You know, if you don't, like, the worst thing that could happen, you could die from COVID-19. You're not going to die by talking to somebody. You're not going to die by making eye contact with somebody. But they want to instill that much fear in you because they want to control you. And it's just so crazy because people read that and they think that is, you know, law. Just like the mask. The mask is a mandate, not a law. There's a difference. So people can still fight it if they want. I just know myself, for example, where I have a short temper and patience with some people. So I know I can't go into a gym if a gym's open to wear a mask, right? Because if somebody tells me anything and I hear something that I don't agree with, I know that will set me off. But since I know that, I stay out of that situation because I'm not mature enough in that area to be able to handle just whatever people are going to say. And I'm okay with that. And I'm open with that. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. But it's just knowing, like, there's so much fear out there and they're pumping so much into people that we got to be in the word and we got to be rooted. And Josh, I see you unmuted your mic. Did you have something to say? Or maybe you just unmuted.
No, not yet. Other than amen.
Yeah, it's wild out there. I'll say this one piece before I jump back into the word. My husband Johnny, he found a gym that was open, and then they moved all their equipment outside. And, like, for anybody that knows me, I love to work out, right? That's my coffee. I don't drink coffee. I go and I get a workout in the morning. Well, Johnny found a gym that's like 30 minutes away from where we live. It's like, he really is like, I want to find this gym. He goes, they move everything outside under a tent. It's 105 outside. And then, you know, he takes his mask off because it's hot. You got to breathe. And they're like, sir, you need to put your mask on. And he was telling me this. I was like, oh my gosh, you're lucky I wasn't with you. Like, this is where I get tested with my, tested my character, because I would initially go off on somebody being like, it is 105 out here and you want me to pass out on the ground when he showed me a video. Nobody else was there, but they were so concerned. And it's just so crazy to me. Like, people are not thinking, like, logically. Now, however you believe about the masks, you know, this is just my opinion. So I respect if somebody else has a different opinion. But at 105, I'm like, what? Like, that is wild, you know? So just, you know where you're at, and then, you know where you're at. So I know where I'm at. I don't go to the gym because I know that's not a place where I'm going to be my best self, right? I want to work on myself physically, but I know, like, mentally and that whole thing, I can't go there yet. I'm just not in that. So diving back into Matthew, we took this whole mask derail, my fault. I want to dive into the message version now, because since we just went over the Beatitudes in the NIV version, most of us have heard, you know, all of that. But listen to this translation. And this is why I love the message version so much, because the translation is so easy for people to grasp. So again, if you have troubles reading the Bible, if you know somebody that does, go pick up a message version of the Bible, send it to them, or even on the YouVersion Bible app. It's beautiful. So verses 1.
What version? I'm sorry, Molly. What version is that?
The message version.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's like, I've been in church my entire life. I was brought up in it, but I always was like, I just can't really, and I know you just jumped on here, Shanice. I can't really, like, connect with it just yet. So I got the message version, but now I have the message version, and then I have Maxwell Leadership Bible and NIV, and then I cross over just to make sure, that there is congruency there, but it's just easier to read. So diving into chapter 5. So again, Jesus is on the hill, big crowds are drawing in, but he took his disciples off to the side and wanted to pour into them. And this is what he said: you are blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there is more God. With less of you, there's more of God and his rule. You are blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you, the one meaning God. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. No more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. Oh, I'm going to say that again. That was good. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are. No more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything you can't be bought. Like, that is so humbling right there, you guys. That's verse 5 here, the message version, because how many of us have been there where it's like, we've been down on our luck. We've been, in the trenches. We have to make sacrifices, but we're proud owners of things you can't be bought, things that can't be bought. Yes, Jesus bought us with his blood, right? But at the end of the day, like, you can't sit there and go buy that at Walgreens or at Target. Like, that is so powerful when you're really just like, I'm 100 with me, and that's cool. Oh, I love that. All right, verse 6. You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for God. He's food and drink in the best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the moment of being careful, you find yourself cared for. Oh, that's good. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see God in the outside world. So when you get the insides right, when you're all good up here and in your heart, then you can give that out to the world. You're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are and your place in God's family. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they're uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even, for though they don't like it, I do. And all the heaven applauds. And know that you're good. Know that you're in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. So I know that's a really big piece to digest, but what I really love is that really at the end of the day, some of us get so consumed on, the latest fashion, the latest cars, the things that are going to make us look good, give us the clout. And, I'll admit I've been caught up in that before, but what was so great about this whole pandemic is when it shut things down, you really had to narrow in what really mattered. Well, what really mattered for me, and I'd love to hear from you guys if you guys want to speak up, is like, what really mattered at the beginning of this pandemic? What shifted for you? Like, rather than focusing, okay, I want this brand new car, blah, blah, blah. I literally got down. I'm like, okay, Lord, if I cannot work, if the internet shuts down, because that's the space that I'm in, if the internet shuts down and we can't work, what do you want from me? And he just says, speak life into my people. And I'm like, okay, how do you want that to do that? So now social media, through lives, through things like this, speak life into my people. Let my people know, hey, I'm here. I want to fuel you. I want to help you, support you, be that light for people. And so I'd love to hear what maybe something that's come up for you guys during this pandemic of just what's like really shrunk your focus into what really matters.
I'll chime in.
Go for it.
Yeah, for me, it really helped clear out the noise and distractions, and it really, like, sports went away. All these things that I would do, that would distract myself, and it allowed me to kind of just get more focused on God's voice. Also, the importance of family and real friendships, real quality time, learning to really appreciate, not appreciate, being present with family when I had those moments, like really focus on developing my personal relationships. Those kind of things really became important, because when everything was stripped away that I thought was great and all of the things that I wanted to do, it really just helped me get centered and really laser focused on what God was showing me, what God was telling me to do. And that I guess that is it in a nutshell. But I really, this pandemic has been the greatest blessing of my life. I mean, I'm fortunate to be healthy. I've been able to travel, but it's been a huge blessing because I really got to prioritize what mattered most in my life.
I love that. I love that. And I've seen a lot of people actually come back with, like, bringing more family together, spending more time. And that's so good that you got that, because there has been a huge disconnect for a long time. So I love that you shared that piece, because I feel like that's really prevalent for a lot of people who have families. So that's really good. Shanice, I know I saw your mic open. I don't know if you wanted to share.
Yeah, sorry, I got a call. So basically just experience-wise for me, since the pandemic started, really, and Molly, you know me personally, so I think like my energy, my spirit is always kind of high. And when this thing started, I had got back to LA right after my birthday, had a great time, and then like Trump started talking about like, okay, we're gonna start shutting down traveling, and I got really nervous because I don't have family in California. So I was like, you know what, let me just go back. So I came back. I've been in Florida for like the last 4 months because I've been, a little scared to travel. I'm not going to lie. But what I want to say is that I got into a really bad, just mental depression, and I've never even thought that's even possible for somebody like me. And I was very, had high anxiety. I was literally stressing out everybody that's close to me because I'm like putting all my stuff on them. And I almost like killed some relationships. And I'm really grateful that happened, because when that happened, it was like my crave for the word has deepened. And I know we haven't seen each other in a long time, but I started my journey about 2 years ago, getting closer. And so it's another 6 months. So it's literally now been 2 years. But since the pandemic started, I was like, okay, God, I hear you. So you like that I got close to you, but now you really want me to get closer. So I was literally in an apartment here alone for like 3.5 months. And like I got to see the family. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't like in confinement, but I feel like that was God's way of like, because like my mom was moving out of this house, and I literally was raised here. So I was here alone for the last 3 months, or the first 3 months of the pandemic, crying, praying the word. Like I haven't, not to make anybody feel any type of way, because I'm not special, but I have not watched Netflix. Like all I have been tuning into is the word and sermons. Like I don't feel comfortable doing anything other than that, especially when I was in that really bad place of mind. But yeah, I'm really grateful for this pandemic too. The same thing Josh just said. Like I'm grateful so much for this, because I'm super, like I'm different. Like I'm different. I'm not the same. The old me has been dead and gone, and I can't believe it had to take this to happen. But my crave for the word is on another level at this point. So, but yeah, thank you, Molly, for having this call.
Shanice, oh my gosh, I got chills. Woo. Okay, well, Hoa opened his mic, and then I'll get to that. But so good. All right, next. Woo.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, Molly, thank you so much for putting this together. And it's been amazing so far, being able to listen to you and just some of the amazing testimonials so far. And so it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be able to hop on with all of you. And I think he had mentioned Joshua. I think there were a lot of unexpected blessings that we were all able to kind of take away from this pandemic, from having to spend time with people and family. I think for me personally, some of the biggest themes I'd say that I've been able to kind of take away from this has been messages that I've really been able to have gotten from God, but it's been around like the themes of humility. It's really, my humility has really been deepened my faith, and definitely my commitment to service. And I'd say humility was really a big one in terms of sheesh. It was I guess it was very visceral in terms of the message that I was able to take away from God in terms of remaining in a state of humility, which is crazy because I never thought myself to be one to have an ego, but sometimes we can actually be carrying the embodiments of like generational curses, and sometimes we may not even be aware of it. And it made me more aware of how we can so easily become the things that we don't want to become. And so um, I've really been, you know, God's really been humbling me as a man, as a creative, as a professional, and being able to never allow my ego to get ahead of myself or Him, which has led me to then being able to kind of think about again, well, what's really important. So from that, you know, I think being able to remain, I think where I've been pulled was being able to remain in a state of service to others. I think if we're able to commit ourselves to remaining in a state of service to others, we'll always be able to remain in a state of humility. And so, you know, that's always been something that's been true and near and dear to me, and crazy because as I came to that thought about 2 days ago, I got a pretty important phone call from a top leader. Mal, you probably know him, but Richard Wetner from the Germany team in IM Academy. Long story short, he's been working on launching this massive global foundation that's like really focused around impacting children. And so the opportunity came to be able to serve on that, to become a partner on that, and to be able to kind of just have a hand in just again like being of service to others. And so I'm kind of mind blown at the passage that you actually chose to go over today, because it was just about 4 days ago that I found myself at like 2 a.m. trying to look for scriptures that could help me kind of overcome some of the current storms that I was kind of going through. And this is the exact um, uh, this is the exact word that I randomly stumbled upon. And there was just that one that you had read, and I'll kind of just recite it. That was just very, very impactful. It kind of gave me chills when you actually started reading from this. Um, it said, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And it just made me kind of think about a current work situation where uh, we face like uncertainty within our lives, and we start to, what did you say, like less of you and more of God. And that was a big one, because I think in times of uncertainty, it can be so easy for us to just kind of get overwhelmed and start to kind of make the problem and think that we're solely responsible for the problem. And then we start to push God out of the picture. I think that it's so profound hearing you say that, because it was such a good reminder for me, especially in terms of uncertainty within our lives, is we have to make it less about us and more about God. And so I just want to say, I mean, I'm truly appreciative of what you went over this morning.
I love it. And that just like, honestly, like as you guys are talking, I'm like my eyes started to well up a little bit, because I'm just like, Lord, like this is so crazy. Like it's just so wild, because every time before, and I'll be honest, before I like yesterday, Josh checked in, hey, we still doing this tomorrow? Yeah, we're doing it. So I knew, okay, Saturday mornings to get up to make this happen, you know, it would be my one day to sleep in. But I'm like, there's so much happening out there, like forget sleep, take a nap later, whatever. But I have these conversations also of like, you know, who are you to get up and talk about this? You know, why are you speaking this? Who's going to jump on your Zoom? You're not going to have very many people constant in my head, just boom, 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 boom. I mean, I'm sure, you know, like our pastors have the same thing of like, who's going to show up today? You know, like you never know. And so like, that is such a real thing, because the enemy is just speaking lies. You know, people are speaking lies and you're like, this doesn't matter. Like find something else more worth your time. Other people find things on Saturdays that are more worth your time than this. But at the end of the day, what I love is what you guys have all shared. And Michelle, if you want to share, I'd love to hear from you as well. I'm not sure what you're doing this morning, but it's just so cool to watch God like bring people onto this call that all have such a strong light in their space. And then to watch how something like this can empower you to go even further and make you that much brighter, because every single person on this call, I've met you in all different areas of my life, and I love it. That's one of the reasons God was like, hey, put this call on, because you never know what could create from even this circle, from you guys connecting or hearing each other's stories. And he's just so good, which is way beyond me. And I'm so humbled to be like on here with y'all. Like it's crazy. But Michelle, I'd love to be able to hear from you. I see you just unmuted your mic.
Well, first of all, I'm so proud of you. You're just, I mean, to be such a light, and I don't know, I just feel so much older than you to have you be such a light, so powerful at your age. I just want to tell you I'm so proud of you, and you're just, your impact is going to continue to grow in really like amazing ways. So thank you for that. I I just literally feel like a different person than before the pandemic started. God had already kind of started doing a lot of radical things in my life over the last couple of years. And then really in the last year, it got super intense. And once the pandemic started, I mean, I don't know if this is good or bad, but we kind of live a quarantine lifestyle anyway. Bobby and I are home every day. We work at home. So a ton of things didn't change for us personally with our daily activities, but everything changed through that. You know, everything was changed. And so one of the things that I noticed just recently about that God has really done for me during this pandemic, and you were asking what's different or what changed for you. I mean, I'm kind of like you, like I see people walking down the street by themselves, walking their dog with a mask on, or they're in their car with a mask alone. It's like, it's chasing you, it's going to come get you. And my typical reaction of, just me, who I am, a little bit rebellious and kind of walk my own path and, don't just take information at what it is. I have felt the typical me would be super irritated. And I've seen that with people. They're mad. They get mad. My husband, he just gets mad. He sees people. Why are they doing that? And that would have been me in the past, but God has done something in me and I see things so completely differently. And one of the things that he has shown me is that, to see people so easily and so quickly to be led by, in my opinion, the wrong information, to be led so quickly and so easily into following people. What God has shown me is, instead of being annoyed by it, I have such a deep compassion and empathy and such a strong desire to lead. And what God has shown me is people are desperate for real biblical leaders. They need it so badly, and the need for it is bigger than it ever has been ever. And so instead of being we have these conversations with Bobby, and he'll be like, why are they doing that? And it's just so irritating. I say, babe, I know that God's changed me, because instead of looking at these people and being so annoyed by their seemingly stupidity, for lack of a better, just kind of falling like lemmings, do you know what I mean? Saying like, just here's where the crowd's going, let's go this way. That the Lord has shown me that instead of being that way and standing on the sidelines pointing, what he is asking of us as leaders, as believers, is to stand up and say, no, here's what we're supposed to be doing. And in the kind of the Christian community, there's been two very specific schools of kind of what people are saying, especially in kind of the prophetic world. There's one side that's saying we are being judged. This is horrible. It's all going to pot. Everything's falling apart. And there's the other side saying, God's doing something miraculous right now. And so even within the community of Christians, you have this almost division. And what God has really shown me is that it is very important to dig yourself in so deep with the word of God that you have the heart of God, the mind of God, the eyes of God to see other people and to stand up and lead from that place, not like leading from above, not from below, which is where I think most people lead from below. And so I just feel like a totally different person. It's put a fire in my heart to do more, be more, to it really keeps me in check every day. I say it keeps me in check. It's a God thing. Like he's doing it to me. So that's why I know it's not me, because myself would be like you. I'd be like, listen, bro, you're being an idiot. But that's just not it's not what's happening to me, which is not me. So it's been a pretty transformational time for me with the Lord, and, him just letting him have his way in a radical way. And I know that amazing radical thing in the world right now.
I love that. Oh, that is so good. And there's so much richness there. And that's why I love all your guys' answers, because it was like, they're real. Like there was like so much depth to them. You guys weren't afraid to share. And that's what's so beautiful is that like there's a lot of people out there that just they're afraid to share. They're afraid to be judged. They're afraid to get the backlash, and they're afraid for somebody to say something mean and hurt their feelings. It's like I'm sure all of us on here, because we've been so outspoken and like just pushed forward in our lives, we've all seen that. We've all experienced that, even from people we love and care about, you know, coming to us and just kind of, you know, knocking us down every once in a while. Not that they mean to, or at least you hope not, but they just, you know, it's just, they don't see that vision. And I know I've had that with a lot of friends and family in my life. They just don't get it. So I just don't, I let them see it. I'm here. This is what I'm doing. Feel free to be a part of it. But, you know, you've showed me enough times that like, hey, like you know, I want to be able to serve people who are actually open. But when people are open and they want to see, that's where the beauty of like social media and putting stuff out there really comes from. It's like, this is our true way of connection right now, is like Facebook, Instagram, whatever you guys are on, LinkedIn. And it's just, it's wild. And we've seen the censorship too, where it's like, we can say things, but then they'll say, is it going to be false information? And so the enemy is so deep into things, and he always has been, but now it's showing up in, again, plain sight in so many different areas. You know, people are waking up. They are waking up and they're like, okay, there is something else there. And so being able to have a space like this where, you know, whether it's just this call is just for empowering leaders who have a big vision, whether people who are brand new believers jump on, like it doesn't, I just let God lead. I'm like, let him lead. And, you know, one of the verses that we were talking about in here, in verse 3, chapter 5, you're blessed when you're at the end of your rope, less of you, there is more of God in his rule. When you think about, okay, if everything that you were doing is to go away, like we can't make money anymore. We gotta, like, what is the most important thing? Sharing the love and being able to be that light for people. And no matter the sticks and stones and what people throw at you, keep going. And Shanice, I think it's very impressive that you have now been on Netflix for that long. That is awesome. And that you're so like consumed and like, I want to be in the word. I want to be in the word. I want to be in the word. Like that is something where my spirit craves that as well. And I definitely can take a lesson from that, where it's like, okay, less Netflix at the end of the day, even though my brain's dead from a long work day. It's like, okay, just dive back into the word, because I start my day with it. And then, you know, ending my day with it's always best, but spending more time and really thinking about tithing your time. You know, we all know about tithing our finances, 10% or whatever it is that you guys do. But what about tithing your time to God? What about making sure, like, no matter what, you know, I'm here, I'm in it. And I even told myself, I'm like, you know, if I get in the middle of the day, if I get stuff done early or I get stuck and I'm not really sure where to turn, what am I going to go to? I'm not going to get back on my phone and get on social media. I know I'm not going to find answers there, but I will find all the answers I need right here. And so that's why I like bouncing back and forth between the versions, because there's just something that's going to click maybe a little bit differently. But it will. And I'm glad that this has served you guys, because that's all like, you know, I've ever wanted. I'm just such a, like you, Ho, I'm just such a person of service. Like, put God first. How do you want me to help your people? What can I do? Here we go. And, you know, to all him be the glory, because he's the one that's orchestrating something really powerful, even on this call, with you guys hearing this message or hearing Hoa share, Josh share, Michelle share, Shanice share, my share. There's something that's stirring up inside you. Like, Michelle, I learned something from you. It's like, you're right. Instead of being fiery and hot on certain people, it's like, you know, that's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to do anything. That's my flesh speaking, right? That wants to just come out. I go for a run instead of, you know, having that come out, but show that empathy and love. And you're right. People are craving. They're craving information. They're craving. There's something deeper and more, and they're scared. They don't really know maybe what to turn to. Maybe they've never heard the word at all, but how you show up in person, outside in the world, on social media, how you show up anywhere people are going to watch. And there's a lot of people watching all of us that we don't even know. And some of those might be, you know, big players, just like you said, Hoa, like that leader out in Germany. It's like, hey, I want you to work on this really big and important project. What a blessing. You know what I mean? What a blessing to have those kinds of connections. And so I know I've connected with a lot of people thanks to all of you on this call. And that's why I love networking so much, because you never know what God has planned, because he ultimately knows. He's like, you think, you know, what that connection with Josh is going to be like. When Josh and I became friends a long time ago, but it has blossomed into something totally just so much more deep and rich. And it's amazing when you just let God lead. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they want to share. If not, I'd love to close this out in prayer, because I want to respect your guys' time so you can get what you want to get done on the weekends. But just really like eternally grateful for you guys wanting to take the time to jump on here and just be fed. because we have a lot of things pulling from us. We have a lot of people wanting to take withdrawals. But you got to make deposits. And that's what I love on you.
I want to add one thing. I want to compliment you on bringing up tithing your time. That is essential. It's one of the most important things, and it's not taught enough, especially in church, because they're trying to get your money. Sorry. But tithing your time, I absolutely love that. Dr. Miles Monroe talks about that a lot, or talked about that a lot. And I listen to a lot of his sermons when he teaches the kingdom principles. That is such an important part of our walk, to tithe our time. We're to give 10% of our time, of everything, not just money, to God. And I love that you said that, because it reignites the spirit of serving. And I love to serve, but every time I hear someone else say it, it's like a shot in the arm of, yes, I get to serve. I get to do this. I get to do this. So I really, really love that you went there.
Yeah, you got it. You know, it's what came to me. So all glory be to God. I mean, like, he's letting the downloads flow. And I do remember a time when the downloads weren't flowing, you know, where I stopped it at a certain point because I'm like, nope, I need to be in control, and I'm not sure, and I don't want to release, and I don't want to let go. And finally, you know, at 30 years old, being able to release and let go, and watching all the blessings, all the love, all the just emotions flow out of me of just how grateful and humble and just, I mean, joyful I am, because there's so many great, you know, emotions and moments that people block out because it's not of the norm, because people are so comfortable with being, you know, sad and fearful and having this complaint and that complaint. And we all have friends like that, you know, when you get around them and you're just like, okay, is there a solution to this or no? You know what I mean? Because I'm very solution oriented. But at the end of the day, it's just being that light. And so I just encourage all of you, and I hope this prayer encourages you guys, that whatever it is you do today, next week, and just moving forward, that you guys can just be firm in that light and know that, you know, we're all here. If you have a bad day or a rough day, or somebody said something that really rocked your boat, that's normal. That's going to happen. But being able to have a place and a circle that you can come to, and I'm sure you guys have people in your life, but I love to open that up, you know, if there's anything that I can do, because it happens sometimes. It's just that one little comment that gets under your skin and you're like, ugh, you know. And so I've had that happen, but I know, instead of trying to do it on my own, reach out to people that I trust and love and care about, and I know that care about me, that can help pump me up, because it's in that alone space that I know Satan, for me, gets in there and starts pulling out all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. You know, so now that I'm aware of that, it's knowing, you know, where two or more are gathered, God's going to be present, and he's going to help you no matter what. So I'm going to close us out in prayer. And then, yeah, that will be it. So Lord, I just want to thank you so much for this time, and just these people that are on this call, because each and every one of them have so many gifts and blessings that they can give to the world, and that they are giving to the world. And I'm just so grateful to be connected with Shanice, Michelle, Josh, Hoa, anybody that's watching this recording. Just so grateful, because there's so many amazing things that you're doing in the midst of all this craziness. But we know ultimately, Lord, that you're in control of it all. And Lord, I just pray for the courage for all of us to leave our comfort zone. There's places that we're comfortable in. Help us get outside of that, so we can see what more blessings and abundance that you have for us, and how we can pour that on your people. Lord, grant us the grace to step into the unknown place of just trusting that you're with us every step of the way, that we're not doing this on our own, but you're there every single step. And no matter if it's rocky, uncomfortable, whatever, you're always going to be there to catch us and just help us keep pushing forward, as we all have, you know, amazing gifts and abilities to impact others. We thank you for this time, Lord. I pray for the safety of each and every person on this call. I pray for the peace of whatever is stirring up any, you know, anger, resentment, stress, or anything in their lives. I just pray for peace over that, Lord. And I thank you for this time that we've had together. We love you, Lord. We pray this in your name. Amen. So.
Amen. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, you got it, you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thanks,
Have a
girl.
blessed weekend, everyone.
Bye, guys.